Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, John. Yes, I can hear you. You hear me okay?
Perfect. Thank
Good.
you so very much for making the time to cover for Amanda.
Sure. No, I surprisingly didn't have a meeting this afternoon, which is never happens. So anyway, I was happy to do it. Yeah.
We are so fortunate to have you.
Well, I'm glad to get to meet with you all today. I've shown Let's Learn Kentucky to some other partners, and so I think it'll be like riding a bike. I should be able
Sure.
to pull this off.
I have gone ahead and made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen. So if you might want to check and see if you can.
Yeah. Let me share this.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, let me play this video and see how
Sure.
we do, okay? What's going to happen if I go into presenting? Let's see. I always forget. Okay.
More than 90% of a child's brain develops before the age of 5, making these early years critical for future
Got it?
success.
Yep.
Yet, here in Kentucky, only
It seems
half
to be playing and we can hear it.
Okay, great.
So we're in good shape.
And then let me check one more thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I'm here in the presentation. Oh, my word. So it was linking. Now, you can't see the website I just pulled up, can you?
I just see your presentation.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to. It says I can do a new share. So I guess that's what I'm going to do. Jump over to here. You can see it now.
Yep, I can see it now.
Okay. And then when I need to go back, I'll just go back over. I'm going to have to close some windows so I don't confuse myself.
I hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, that should work then. And I will, I think it'll take maybe 30, maybe 45 minutes. It just
Okay.
depends on how many extra words I throw in.
Sure.
How many people do we expect and what are the roles?
I know that we've got about 30 people that are signed up, and they're from all across the state with the different Head Start programs. So we may have a little more, may have a little less. But the good thing is that we're recording it so that we'll be able to share all the information with all the other Head Starts that couldn't make it today.
Will these be Head Start program directors? They won't be teachers likely, will they?
Looking at the list, I think it's a pretty good cross section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think you've got some education managers. You may have a few teachers. You may have some other administrators or directors that are there.
Okay. And do they typically, do you all participate in the chat? Do they do that? Will they send chat questions in?
So the way this is set up, and this is what I'll tell the audience as well, it's set up in the Zoom webinar. So that means that they can't see each other. They can just see you and me.
Okay.
And so if they've got any questions, we'll ask them to raise their hands. They'll click that little raise hand button, or they can type it into the chat, and I'll monitor that as we go forward. And we do have the ability, if they have a more in-depth question or an explanation, we can unmute individuals and have them just speak. Okay,
great. And so you'll just facilitate that piece of it. And I'm okay to stop. So the way the presentation goes, it's kind of a why did we do it? Then I'll show the website or show the video, then the website, kind of walk through the website. And then the rest of the presentation is more about how can they get involved? What can they do?
Okay.
So it's however, I guess we can kind of watch time. If we have questions, by the time I get through with the website, I can stop there, answer questions, and then move on. I'll let you kind of guide me.
Yeah, we'll kind of play it by ear.
Okay. All right. I'm okay to be interrupted, though. It doesn't typically throw me. So whatever you need to do.
No problem. So we'll start in 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you again for being here.
Oh, sure. I'm happy to do it.
All right, everyone. Well, good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to KHSA's webinar focused on KET's Let's Learn Kentucky initiative. This has been a project that KET has been developing for some time, and Amanda Wright, who I think most of you know, has spoken to me a little bit about it, but really wanted the opportunity to sort of visit with all of our Head Start programs across the state. Unfortunately, Amanda couldn't be with us today, but we do have Tonya Crum. And Tonya is the Senior Education Director at Kentucky Education Television. And so we are so fortunate to have her with us to talk about Let's Learn Kentucky. So a few housekeeping items. This is a webinar. So what that means is that Tonya and I are the only two folks that you can see. You can't see each other. And so if you'd like to ask a question, you can do that in a couple of different ways. The first way is you can raise your hand using the raise hand button and icon, and I will be monitoring that and can call on you should you have a question. The second way that you can ask a question is to simply type it into the chat. I will also be monitoring that. And as we go forward, if you've got questions, we'll make sure that they are answered. And if we need to have any sort of in-depth discussions, we can also unmute folks during the webinar. So with that, Tonya, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Well, thank you, John. I'm happy to be here. Amanda sends her best regards. Things come up in life sometimes, and so I said, oh, I can handle this. We are so excited about this initiative with Let's Learn Kentucky. Oh, hold on just a moment. Sorry. So, all right. I think we're in good shape now. I also need to make sure I share my sound with you all. I have some videos to show you today. And again, I'm just really excited to get to share with you this new initiative from KET. So this initiative from KET is called Let's Learn Kentucky. And as we have worked with many of you, also the Governor's Office of Early Childhood, Department of Education, many partners throughout the state, we know that our children need so much assistance, and so much of the brain development happens before age 5. And there are so many things that we as parents and caregivers can offer to our children as they are growing and preparing for school, and we want them to be ready when they enter school. We at KET, of course, have been doing many workshops with providers like yourselves. We've been doing training. We've offer, of course, on broadcast and on air our PBS Kids content. And so you all are familiar with so much of that content that can be used by parents in the home, but also by educators in the classroom. And so with all of the work that we had been doing, we really wanted to do additional work and give resources for you all to use as you're working with parents and caregivers throughout the state. So as a public television station, we are committed to serving the entire state of Kentucky. And we know that with 50% of our children ready to enter kindergarten without additional supports, we needed to help band together as a collective voice to be able to have more kids ready without supports. We know from the preschool development grant that was awarded a couple of years ago, all of the surveys and strategic planning that they did for that grant, that consistent messaging is needed for parents and caregivers, and they need resources to help them make a difference for their children. They need activity ideas and resources, but also our educators need to have that additional support as well, so that in addition to all of your daily tasks, that there would be resources that would be turnkey, that you could utilize to reach out to parents. So out of all of those conversations was born this idea, this website, which is a collection of resources and tips and activities for parents. And so this video will give you a quick idea of what we're looking for there.
More than 90% of a child's brain develops before the age of 5, making these early years critical for future success. Yet, here in Kentucky, only half of kids entering kindergarten are ready to learn without extra support. Fortunately, togetherness can go a long way to support learning development. Reading together.
Once upon a time, there was a little
Counting together.
2.
And talking together. You can also play and move together, which not only supports a healthy brain, but a healthy body too. Reading, counting, playing together. It's really that simple to increase your child's readiness to open up a world of possibilities.
So that's the introduction video for parents and caregivers to understand more about why it's so important that we spend our time on these particular learning experiences. So you're probably familiar with this Pentagon. I'm sure you've seen it about school readiness. And so we took that Pentagon as the starting point to look for what are the specific learning areas that we need to help parents and caregivers better understand. And so as you can see, we took the verbiage that's in the Pentagon, and if you've seen this handout, all of the verbiage that's on the outside of the Pentagon as well, that tells you a little more about what each of these areas looks like. But we put them into terminology that might make sense to parents: moving together, connect together. For instance, social and emotional development doesn't always, when we say those terms with parents, they don't always quite understand what we're talking about. So we give some ideas for connection, the talk and read, the play together opportunities for parents, and counting together, certainly. So I'm going to share with you the website and walk you through a little of that so that you can see a little more what that looks like. So this is Let's Learn Kentucky, letslearnky.org. And as you can see, this is the intro video I just played for you here. And as you scroll down the page, you'll see that we put some of those important facts there, that parents and caregivers are a child's first and most important teacher, the fact about 90% of brain growth happening in the first 5 years. And then we move parents into these areas, the learning areas that we just looked at with the Pentagon: read together, talk together, play, move, count, and connect together. And so within each of these areas, as the parent navigates to that section, we have then brought together, aggregated some very specific resources, many of them from PBS Kids, some from Sesame Street, Sesame and Communities, Sesame Workshop, PBS, and some resources that KET has also developed. So for instance here, if the parent, we've just done 6 at this moment, we will continue to refresh and put new activities on each of these pages, but we didn't want to overwhelm, but we wanted to give a good selection of content. And so the tips to read together takes you to the Sesame and Communities Workshop, and it gives the parent some ideas about reading strategies before you read, help them pick, help them talk about what the book is going to be about, some during the reading ideas, and then after the reading as well. So that's an idea of one of the resources they might find in Read Together, some activities like baking gingerbread letters together. And so just to bake with your child and ask them to make letters and talk about what the letters are. In the Count Together section, for instance, we've got some activities about finger painting, math, but also like the Cat in the Hat resource on how many ways old are you? I don't know if you've seen this one, but it'll have a video segment from the Cat in the Hat, but then also just basic materials. We're trying to find activities and resources for families that don't require them to go out and buy many extra things, just use what they have in the home, but to talk about how old the child is. So some basic ideas there for families as well. In the Move Together area, again, some worksheets. There may be some gardening opportunities, indoor activities, which we may need over the next couple of days for sure. Animal moves. This is an animation that we created at KET that shows kind of some ideas about how you can move like animals do. And so a lot of good extra activities for parents to utilize with their kiddos. And again, this is a 2-minute video, so we tried to keep things pretty short in a way that parents could kind of take it in, understand it, and put it into action. Some of these websites and PBS, the PBS parents websites are oftentimes have Spanish and English resources. So that we can make that a little more accessible. We are looking at the possibilities of doing also a Spanish language version of this site. It's not there yet, but we've tried to include opportunities for families to find those Spanish language resources as well. Another area of the website is what is kindergarten readiness? So it helps parents maybe just understand some of those basic questions. And so if you look at this, we kind of did it as a flashcard kind of situation. So what is kindergarten readiness? It explains basically to parents what is kindergarten readiness, but also learning more. So that will take them to this, here it is, the Pentagon. So it gives them that very specific information with more detail about, you know, sets of objects and counting up to 30, those kinds of things. How can I get my child ready for kindergarten? And that will link them over to a page on NACY's website. Developmental milestones, parents are asking this a lot. And again, this will take them to the CDC site where, you know, they can actually get those checklists for their child at each of these ages. Where they should go if they're having concerns with their child's development, and then kind of a day in the life of a kindergartner. And this is a Sesame Street video. Elmo kind of talking about what the day, first day of kindergarten looks like. So again, just some basic questions and answers. What we know from the research and just from working with families is that we all know that there are resources out there and available, like on the CDC or the NACY website, KDE, all different websites have these resources, but sometimes it's hard for families to find. And we have tried to go through all those resources and put them in an easy to understand way. So we did those flashcards with some of those basic questions and answers, but then we also created this page, and this is the helpful resources page where we've put links to various resources that families may need, just a little more in depth than just the question and answer that we just saw in the flashcards. So what is an early learning program? You know, this is where the Governor's Office for Early Childhood has done this definition of kind of tried to set it out. What is the difference between childcare, early Head Start, kindergarten, preschool, all of these terms that families may hear, but may not understand the differences between those programs and those kinds of services. And so this is a quick handout for parents to kind of get all of the information in one place. High quality learning programs. It was another area of concern during the work with the PDG, because we talk about high quality early learning programs, but why is it important and what does that look like? So again, for the parents, from the parents' perspective, what should I be looking for as a parent? How to get involved. We know that having parental involvement within their child's educational programs is really, really important. So just some ideas about how you can get involved as a parent, and a little more information about the Kentucky All-Stars rating for those early care provider programs. Then we scroll down and find a few more resources for finding early learning programs. It's one of the questions we get often. And I'm sure if you're working in this field, you get that from your friends and neighbors as well. Like, where do I go? Where can I find a list of childcare providers? But those high quality providers and early learning centers folks are often looking for that. And so we've linked them directly to this child care provider search. And so while we may know where that is, it may not make sense for families to be able to find it on the Connect website. So again, just trying to make all of these things really accessible and easy to find. We've done a section here on the Kentucky resources for child development. So these are going to be some additional programs like HANDS, looking at the Help Me Grow Kentucky, various programs that could help families when their parents, when the children may need a little additional support. We've also linked to some national resources for childhood development. So the 3 Ts program with PNC, the CDC Learn the Signs campaign, again, back to some of those developmental milestones, NACY's website, as well as the PBS Parents resources, Sesame Street and Community 0 to 3. All of these are kind of national programs that we know families could find information that they need to help their child in these early years. We also have a section on resources for children with disabilities, so that families can find that assistance that they need right away at the very beginning, so that they can get those additional resources. And then we have resources for fine benefits. We know families, that's a question they often ask, is how do I get health insurance coverage for my child, or what are some other state assistance resources that are going to be available to me as a parent? And so we also, of course, this was totally done in partnership with KDE and the Governor's Office for Early Childhood. And as you see, we've started to list Kentucky Head Start Association, but we've started to list some additional partners here. When we launched this website at the Early Childhood Institute on November 2nd, we were asking for any programs, services that wanted to be a partner in this effort. We would be so happy to have them join. And so that's what's happening on that page there for us. I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoint presentation unless so I've just checked the questions and I see the dual language learners. So I think I answered that question for you. So we would have resources on the web, we hope, and we would also, we're hoping as one of the parts of future development to have printed resources, or at least PDFs that you could print and offer to your families who are speaking in other languages. As you know, translating into multiple languages can be difficult. And so we're looking into what all resources kind of exist to serve audiences who are not native English speakers. So we're working on that. So I hope we'll have more to offer on that soon. John, I'll just keep going unless you interrupt. So if there were other questions that I didn't catch. This is just, I told you about the how many ways older you exercise with the Cat in the Hat. So here we have some kiddos doing those exercises. So again, it's just looking at, they're counting balls. They're obviously 6 years old. They're counting, finding their number on their license plate and that sort of thing. So just looking for these everyday activities that families and caregivers can do together to help their children be ready for kindergarten. So here's what I was talking about. We're looking at this partnership, and we're looking for partners around the state. You'll see our original, kind of our launching partners are these more statewide agencies, for instance, NCFL and the Department for Libraries and Archives, that sort of thing. But First 5 Lex is Kindergarten Readiness kind of collaborative here in Lexington. The Ready for K Alliance is in the Louisville area, but we know there are many other partners who are serving families in the state, statewide. And so we would be happy to have others join us for certain. And by becoming a partner, what we're asking is that this isn't a KET initiative. This is an initiative for Kentucky. And so what we're looking to do is, by acting as this website being kind of a clearinghouse for these resources, that you would then, as a partner, be able to access our outreach toolkit. I'm going to share some links in the chat on those in just a minute. And it'll have printables, there are bookmarks, there are some stickers you could print locally, various social media posts that you could utilize in your communities, promotional videos that you could put on social, you could put it on your own website, just some additional ways to help get parents involved. But as we are further developing the outreach toolkit, we're looking to know what other resources would be helpful for you as you're trying to reach out to parents to help them understand their important role as they partner with you to prepare their children. What other resources would be helpful for you to be able to send home or offer up to parents? So as we think about, I know I'm talking really fast, so I hope if you have questions, you're throwing them in the chat there. But as we think about the next steps for Let's Learn Kentucky, as I've mentioned, we're looking to do additional other languages, resources in other languages, but we're also really starting to ramp up some marketing. There's some digital campaigns going on with social media and otherwise. And we are looking to start really engaging with our partner network. And so whether you say to us, I want to be a partner in that in my community in Shelbyville, and this is the, and we say to you, here are the resources, how can we help you? That's one way to get involved. And the other way will be, of course, that the Head Start Association will be sending out information to you as well. So if you want to just take advantage of some of those resources, that there are bookmarks that could be printed and utilized. As we receive grant funds, which at the ECI, we were able to print out some bookmarks and give to providers to take home, but there might be an opportunity to partner with some funders to print more so that you all have those resources at your disposal. Those kinds of things. But as we think about your outreach plans and the kinds of things that you do with parents, and I don't have you break out rooms, but you might want to share some of your answers with us. But how are some ways that you could use a resource like Let's Learn Kentucky to support families, to raise awareness of the importance of early intervention and early work with your children? And then what are some ways you might use Let's Learn Kentucky to leverage some key partnerships maybe in your area of the state? So I would, it feels a little rhetorical, but I don't know if anyone has any major ideas they'd like to share. Yeah, the early childhood councils, they would be really great partners. We've, Amanda has done some work, I know, with, and I think you're speaking to not just the local early childhood councils, are they also called the regional collaboratives at this point? They're trying to, I think that's it. Or if not, we're also working with them, but really looking at how those partnerships, because it really is all about partnerships. And the idea behind Let's Learn Kentucky is just getting common language to really make that collective impact so that we're all reminding parents to read together, play together, talk together, move and connect together, so that language starts to become kind of the heartbeat of what we're doing with our parents, for sure. And so I have these resources here. I'm going to share in the chat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a minute. So are there other resources as we think about Let's Learn Kentucky? I hope that this is new information for you and that it's something that you are thinking about ways you can include it in your daily work. I'm wondering also if you have other suggestions or questions about the work. Oh, that didn't help at all. I just threw that on there so cobbled together. Let me try again. Any questions? Anyone brave enough to ask? I'm wondering if you've tried using parent outreach resources in the past and how they've worked for you.
Yeah, and if folks would like to respond, they can either type it in the chat, or if you raise your hand, I can unmute you.
Great. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'll just talk for a few minutes until somebody raises their hand. But one of the things we've talked about with Let's Learn, First Five Lex here in Lexington, are ways that they can share out the resources. So not only sharing the whole website with parents, but more about sharing an individual resource. So that, January might be your Read Together month. And so that each week, as you're sending home activities for families, that you would send a different activity from the Read Together section, possibly. We are looking into creating more printables so that educators could, print that one activity and the activity sheet go out each week, that sort of thing. But currently on those websites, on PBS Parents, there are printables, downloadables that you could, kind of run off and send home with children after school. So I think there are some activity ideas in that way. The other things the partners have told us is that they will be doing the social media campaigns. And so again, to pick kind of a together of the month and to be sending that out to their families, either on their Facebook page or on their maybe their classroom website, or through Remind, all the various ways that teachers are connecting with families at this point in time. So Christopher, I see here, is sharing that they send home we send one home activity to the home each month. And we also have developed 60 daily activities that we send home for family activities for the summer. And that is excellent. That's an excellent idea. And I wonder if having access to these activities for each month might be helpful, so that you don't have to continue to develop those pieces. So I'm happy to take that idea back. I know we're now starting into the development of the additional resources that are going to be helpful for you all. The summer activities piece as well, 60 daily activities. Awesome. We did a summer activities booklet that we sent home in. We had a small grant last summer that allowed us to send some summer learning kits to particular communities. And part of that, included things that needed, like rubber bands and popsicle sticks, things to do some of the activities, and some books, but also an activity booklet. So I'll share the link for that with you all. And John, I assume you'll be responding back to everyone. So I'll send some of that information to him as well, that he can include in that follow-up. But definitely we're hearing that having those specific activities for families will be really important. Are there other things when you think about family and parent engagement, or in kindergarten readiness, making sure that as the children come to your programs, that they have some of these basic skills? Are there things that you wish you had, but you don't have time to develop yourselves, or that you haven't really found a thing that you like that you could use? Or is there additional training they need? So it's a wish list for you about the resources that would be helpful for parents. It's hard for it to be so,
folks. Here's your opportunity.
Really, I'm here to take back all the ideas, and we can get to work on it for sure. That's, for us, that's the piece. You all are providing the direct service, and our role is to support you in that, to support all of our state's early care providers with professional development and the resources that you need. So we continue to create resources and principles. We have a whole collection of everyday learning resources that many of you probably use in your classrooms on PBS Learning Media. So everyday learning are all of those wonderful animations that help kids introduce kids to particular topics and align to standards so that you can kind of take it from there and do activities in the classroom. But we are always looking to know from teachers, what do you need? Are there other things we could be making for you to really fill the gaps that we have here in Kentucky for our Kentucky teachers? That's our mission to support. So you'll have my email address also in the PowerPoint and in John's follow-up resources. So we're always happy to have, if you don't want to say in front of the group right now, we're always happy to have those suggestions back to us.
All right, folks. Any other questions, comments? I know that we've got a ton of resources that are on there, and I know that it continues to grow and expand, even just since its launch a 3 months ago. So this will be a tool that I think our Head Start professionals will continue to use, hopefully use more. And to the extent that they've got questions, ideas, and suggestions, I'll be sure to share your information and Amanda's information. And if they've got some thoughts, they can share it with you directly.
That'll be wonderful. We appreciate it. And I thank you all so much for the opportunity to share with you today.
Well, thank you so much for making the time. And we wish Amanda and her family well. Hope everything's all right. And
thank you.
Unless there are any other questions, we're going to go ahead and adjourn. And I'm going to send a copy of this video to everyone, as well as some resource links and other information from Tonya.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Stay dry.
Thank you.